Most people who follow me on YouTube have already saw the movie Baby Boy. But for anybody who hasn't saw it, I recommend you go look it up. I don't remember what year it came out, so let me use my friend Google and see what year it came out so that you will know which movie it is when you go look it up. Um, 2001. So this movie came out in 2001. It's starring Taraji P. Henson at the beginning of their careers. Snoop Dogg. This is the thumbnail for it if you're ever going to go look it up, right? So it's about 22 years old. John Singleton wrote it, directed, produced it, all of that. Omar Gooding is in it as well, AJ Johnson. But anyways, this is my take on Baby Boy. Now most people watch Baby Boy and they pretty much just see just like a black guy with a whole bunch of girls. And so the storyline to it is pretty much a black guy with a whole bunch of girls. He has a girlfriend, but he cheats on his girlfriend all the time. But he has ethics though. Like he tells his girlfriend, I tell the other girls the truth because I don't care about their feelings, but I tell you a lie because I care about your feelings. And in his head, that gives him the okay to cheat on her. And then outside of the cheating, he lives with his mom, but he pays his girlfriend's not cell phone, home phone bill. So he feels like he can control who she talks to. She has this friend in prison that she dated before Jody, that she talks to, and he gets mad about her talking to him on the phone, even though he's sleeping with other girls 95% of the time. Jody doesn't have a job, but Jody winds up selling bootleg clothing and making a lot of money doing that because he was tired of getting told that he doesn't have a job. He loves his bike. He doesn't have a car, but he has a really nice bike that he loves. He drives his girlfriend's car and cheats on his girlfriend in said car. Him and his girlfriend have a baby. Well, the baby is like 5, but he also has a baby by another girl that he cheated on his girlfriend with. So basically, the whole storyline is that Jody is this underdeveloped male who is a mama's boy, and his mama gets a boyfriend, and he hates the mama's boyfriend. Don't even know why he hates him. He just hates him. I guess because the guy used to be in prison, but Jody does a lot of stuff that could land him in prison. He's just never been caught. And yeah, so the storyline is just basically about that drama. And then towards the end, Jody and the mama's boyfriend wound up reconciling and becoming friends or whatever. And Jody's girlfriend that he continues to cheat on and continues to get pregnant and make her have an abortion, um, winds up staying with him after all the crazy stuff that happens. And Rodney, which was Snoop Dogg's character, is his girlfriend's ex boyfriend who was in prison. And then Rodney gets out of prison and goes to the girlfriend's house. But Jody wound up hitting his girlfriend in the face before this happened, so she kicked him out. Even though he wasn't living with her, she went no contact with him. So he wasn't able to use her car. He had no access to her child, and no access to her house. She wouldn't answer his phone calls or nothing because he hit her in the face and gave her a black eye. Granted, she hit him first, but anyways, he gave her a black eye. She found out he was cheating, and she hit him. He punched her. Boom. Okay, so now let me give y'all my take on Baby Boy. I feel like Jody was supposed to be a typical black male in America, but in all actuality, he shows so many different dynamics to a typical black male in America. Yeah, he's a cheater. Yeah, he doesn't want to work. But there are so many black men that does not apply to. But the part about Jody that does apply to most black men in America is that he was a mama's boy for a reason. His mama kicked his oldest brother out over her boyfriend. His oldest brother gets killed in the streets, and then his mom doesn't even wind up staying with that guy. So I feel like Jody was scared. He was a scared little boy. And he wound up being a father of 2. Could have been more, but he kept making his girlfriend have abortions. He wound up sleeping with all these different women. He wound up being a big man in the streets. He wound up having so many people who idolized him. But he was just a scared little boy because Jody did not want his brother's reality of being killed in the streets to become him. That's why he stayed in his mother's house. No matter what arguments him and his mom got into, he stayed in her house until his mom made him leave. But at that point, he had already hit Yvette and wasn't allowed to stay at her house, so he had to go stay with his friend. And when he goes stay with his friend, His friend is underdeveloped just like him, and his friend is staying with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's mom. So a grown man goes to go stay with his friend who is staying with a girlfriend and her mom. That shows you right there that Jody and his friend were both underdeveloped, but there were reasons for that. Everybody has a story. Now, P is the friend's name. Nobody really knows his story because P don't really go into his story, but I'm sure something happened with his mom or his dad or lack thereof that caused him to feel like he needed to cling to a woman, and that was where he found his stability. So many black men, whether they wind up being financially stable or not, always have to have a woman or two or three so that they can feel stability because they don't know where their next change is going to happen. And even though everybody has those things where we don't know where our next change is going to happen, some men would prefer to have multiple different choices to fall back on. And I feel like that's what Jody was doing because Peanut is his second baby mama's name. He was still sleeping with her even though she lived with her mom because he wanted her to be a backup plan. And when him and Yvette broke up, Peanut didn't want nothing to do with him because she was tired of being his side piece, even though they have a kid together. So she told him, when I want some, I'll call you, but you don't call me no more. So that was one of his fallback plans that didn't work. All the other girls he was cheating on Yvette with, apparently those didn't work out either. So Yvette was really his bread and butter, his backbone. She was the only person that had his back no matter what he did. Whether he cheated on her, whether he wouldn't work, whether he was just always in a funk, she was always there for him no matter what he did. But when he put his hands on her, that was when she said no. But Rodney, which was Yvette's ex, he was in prison. She was talking on the phone with him all the time. So Rodney had the idea in his head that Yvette wanted him. So when he gets out of prison, he makes sure he gets paroled to her house. So he has to live with her because the paperwork says so. She doesn't want him to. She's still in love with Jody, but she's just waiting for Jody to come back around. But Jody is being hard headed, so he doesn't come back around. So since Jody doesn't come back around, she lets Rodney live with her, but she makes sure that he stays in the living room, she stays in her room. But Rodney starts trying to put his hands on her. He starts trying to hold her down and take it. So she tells Jody what happens, and then Jody and his friend winds up unaliving him. And that right there shows you, even though Jody's pride was hurt when his girlfriend didn't want nothing to do with him no more, he still loved her. He still had that genuine bond and that genuine love with her because when he found out that she almost got raped, he went and finished it. Even though he shouldn't have killed him, that's what he did. He went and killed him. So that shows the protectiveness of a black male, no matter what they feel like you did to them, because honestly, Yvette didn't do anything to him but put her foot down because she should have left him a long time ago. He still came back around and saved her, even though he wouldn't. At this point, he's not answering her phone calls. He's not letting her in his mama's house. He's staying far away from her. He's treating her the way she treated him. But yes, go. But oh, I wanted to speak on Melvin. Melvin is Jody's mom's boyfriend. What Melvin did was he was a male who used to be in prison. He used to be a delinquent. He used to be a killer. He used to be all of these things, right? But now he's trying to change his life around. He started himself a landscaping business and he wants to offer Jody a job. And but Jody is like, no, I know your type. I can smell it on you. So Jody's being all rude to him. And Jody's like, yeah, I talked to your son. He told me you used to beat his mom. Everything that Jody was saying about him is from his past. And this is, to me, this is biblical because when God changes your mind, people are going to bring up your past. People are going to be like, oh, but remember when you used to beat her? Or remember when you used to blah, when you used to blah? That wasn't Melvin no more. Melvin still looked like he was that type of person because he was big, he was black, he had tattoos all over his body, but he was not that man anymore. He was trying to be a good man for Jody's mom, but if you poke the bear too much, the bear's gonna attack you, and that's what happened. Jody kept poking the bear, and so eventually Melvin did choke him out, just to show him like, dude, don't play with me. But after Jody killed Rodney, he came home in a funk, crying and all this other stuff. Melvin cleaned the gun off for him, and him and Melvin became cool after that. So that shows you right there that even though that tough masculinity was there, Jody really was just a scared little boy. He didn't want to kill that man. Jody's friend P is the one who actually did the kill shot. Jody shot him, but he didn't do the kill shot. But still, just watching that happen and knowing that he was a part of it, he was crying. There are so many black males out here who are looked at as animals, who will literally cry if they actually shot somebody, who will literally cry if they actually had to kill somebody. Yeah, they can do it. They're fairly capable of doing it, but they don't want to. They want to be loved. They want to be hugged. They want to be treated equally. They want that. But they know that that comes with vulnerability. And they've saw every male that tried to be vulnerable either wind up in a compromised position or dead or being called a trick or being called this and that. And they don't want to be looked at as somebody that's not cool. But you focused on the wrong crowd. If you care about whether or not somebody think you cool because they persecuted Jesus, you don't think they're gonna persecute you? I say do you, be you. Because we can learn something from Jody. Jody tried to be somebody that he was not. Jody tried to be this street dude, this I want to sleep with whoever I want to. I'm gonna be shooting people, I'm gonna be doing this, I'm gonna be doing that. But that was not Jody. When it came down to it, when he really had to pull that trigger, he curled up like a little baby and cried about it. He didn't want to do that. There are so many black men who put themselves in those type of situations because they don't want to be looked at like somebody that's weak. But vulnerability does not make you weak. It's actually extremely strong. It takes a strong man or woman to be able to be vulnerable and show people that they are actually human and cry and actually speak how they feel. That is very vulnerable. Vulnerability is strength. So we see at the end of the movie that Yvette takes Jody back or Jody takes her back, whichever way you want to look at it, and Yvette winds up pregnant again, but this time he don't make her have an abortion. We don't know what happens after that, but it's like pretty much for us to take up for ourselves to see what we think. And honestly, I feel like Jody wound up straightening up after that. Now, it might not take that drastic measures for other people to get it, but that movie just kind of shows us a synopsis of the way that black men in America feel. He felt like he needed his mother in every step of his life because he was scared to become his brother, getting kicked out and winding up dead. Jody was, I think, 20 in that movie. But even though he was 20, he still felt like he was his mother's child, like he was a baby. And she's like, no, you're not a baby, Jody. You are a grown man. He needed to hear those words. Like, you're grown. Like, you don't have to live with me. She's like, I'm not kicking you out, but you don't have to live with me. You are grown. And he really told his mom that, hey, if I move out and if I die, it's going to be your fault. Like, no. She raised you all the way up until you were 20. Through all them kids you kept having and all them abortions you kept making her pay for, she raised you. And now she's telling you, you're 20. You keep making dumb decisions and expecting me to fix them. Now I have a boyfriend, and I don't want my son living here while me and my boyfriend are here having sex and doing whatever we want to do. And my 20-year-old son is walking in and out the house whenever he wants to. So, yeah, I feel like Jody's mom didn't raise him to be a man. She raised him to be a boy who still depends on her. And then she's looking around like, why are you not a man? But it's like, every time he got a woman pregnant, all he had to do was ask you for the money for an abortion and you paid for it. You complained about spending the money, but you still spent it. Any woman that's teaching her son is going to be like, no, you chose to lay up with her without a condom. You chose to do this, this, and that. So you deal with the baby or you pay for your own abortion. But instead of doing that, she just paid for it every time. So that shows us that a lot of the times mothers are the reason why boys are underdeveloped children as adults. A lot of the times the mothers will continue to take the burdens for their son and then wonder why their son never grew up. Take everything that their son is doing and then wonder why he never grew up. He never grew up because you never gave him a chance to fall. When it's time for a bird to fly, the mother kicks him out of the nest. You either gonna fall and die or you gonna start flapping your wings so you can start flying like me. But what you're not gonna do is stay in this nest because you outgrew the nest. And that's what Jody's mama needed to do, but she didn't. And so the movie Baby Boy really can show us that. Like, when you're a parent, it does hurt sometimes to have to say certain things to your children. But had she not told Jody, you are not a child, you are not a baby, you are a grown man, he would have never had to look at himself in the mirror and be like, dang, like, Am I making decisions that a man would make, or am I still being like a child? Like, he was forced to figure that out because his girlfriend wanted nothing to do with him no more. His mama didn't want him living with her no more. He had to go stay with a friend who was staying with his girlfriend's mother. So now it's like, dang, I really must not be a man. I don't have a car. That car I was driving was my girl's and she took it. I don't have my own house. I was living with my mom and she took her house. I can't stay with my girlfriend because she kicked me out. She got a whole nother man staying with her. So I am a child. Like, he would have never figured that out had they not pulled the carpet from underneath him. They kept stability under him and was wondering why he wouldn't grow up. Well, what man is gonna want to go work or gonna want to be responsible enough to pay a car payment or to do anything for himself if all the women in his life are taking care of it? If all the women in his life are, oh, you need to pay for abortion? Here's $900. Oh, you need to pay for this? Here you go. Oh, you need this? Here you go. If every woman in their life is doing that, when will they ever grow up? And I had to learn that, honestly, because there were so many times in my life where I was doing things like that for my ex. He was doing nothing for himself. And every time that I was like, dude, you need to get a job, he would get a job. He would get a job. But after a couple days, I don't hear nothing about the job no more. And instead of staying on him about it, I would just keep paying the bills. Instead of kicking him out, I would just keep paying the bills. So I had to take my accountability for that. I wasn't the reason that he was like that. His mama didn't raise him. So it wasn't my fault that he was like that, but I was enabling him to stay like that. Like, it's not our fault the way that people grow up, but it is our fault when they become adults and we will them to still be children. We got to tell the truth. If you love somebody, tell them the truth. You're underdeveloped. All that coughing is my daughter. She's good. She's getting it out. She's getting over a stomach virus. So if y'all keep hearing that coughing, that's my 5-year old. I've been giving her Sprite and crackers all day. She's coughing it up. So I don't want y'all to think I'm just ignoring her. But yeah, we got to do better as a society, not just with black men, but with men, period. Mothers always give their sons more grace than they give their daughters. Their daughters got to know how to cook, clean, wash clothes, how to work, how to take care of the dog, how to do everything before they even hit high school. But men are getting chauffeured around and taken care of and fed and all this other stuff. Everything's getting cleaned up for them. Their whole life. They be 18, 19, they never washed their drawers. Like, women are taught to be servants, but men are not taught how to develop and how to be independent. Hello. Hello.